Welcome to Digital Discourse. Welcome to Digital Discourse. Yeah.
All right, back with another episode. Today we have, well, you've done so many things. I don't really even quite know how to describe you. We have Amber Rayne today, but I'm gonna let her describe yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Amber Rayne. I would describe myself as a visual artist, filmmaker, and producer. And the reason I define myself as those things is because I feel like visual artist is pretty all encompassing. Like I do a lot of different things. I think that will fall under visual art. Outside of being a filmmaker, I started off in photography and modeling. I also like draw and paint and craft and do things like that. So I just enjoy all things that are kind of visually art related. But as well as that, I am a filmmaker. So I produce films, I do casting, creative direction, set design, wardrobe, and I also produce events. So I do event production as well, event coordination, and creative direction for events too. A little bit of everything.
Damn, I knew you did a lot, but golly, that's a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, how'd you get into all of that? Like, how'd you just get like immersed in the world of creation?
I've always been really creative. I used to draw all the time as a kid, write poetry, read a lot of books. As I got older, they definitely just kind of remained hobbies for me. Like when I was younger, I wanted to be an interior designer. I used to draw clothes and I used to draw like room layouts and all this stuff. But I wasn't really um, necessarily ever encouraged to go into a creative field as like a career. But I always did the creative stuff on the side. Like I started modeling first. First I actually started blogging a long time ago. I started my own blog and I started connecting with like other creative artists in the DMV and blogging about them. Then one of my friends, my best friend, encouraged me to start modeling because she started. And from there, I went into photography. I wanted a little more creative control. I started putting together my own shoots and I was doing both modeling and photography. And then I kind of like stumbled into film. Um, I originally was going to go to school to be an attorney. I went to Howard for 3 years and was going to go to Howard Law School.
Okay.
And when that didn't really work out, I ended up a little bit later transferring to Bowie and I changed my major to visual communications and digital media art. And I still didn't think I was going to do filmmaking. My concentration was like advertising design. Like I was like, let me learn like Illustrator and Photoshop and these programs and stuff. So I just kind of like stumbled into film from like doing modeling and photography. And yeah, I started producing. Well, I was doing creative direction, uh, wardrobe, set design. I was still modeling in videos here and there. And then one of the production companies that I did some videos for, they like basically were like, "Are you interested in like producing and filmmaking? And if so, like we'll kind of like take you under our wing." And that really sparked like me making a real career change. Actually,
Okay. Dang. Okay. That's quite a jump from law school. So okay. So
yeah.
being that you've done everything on both sides, like which one you like better? You like being in control or being in control? Or being controlled?
That's hard to say. There are aspects of both that I love, and there are aspects of both that like I don't enjoy. Um, I feel like as a model, and I think a lot of people don't think about this, but your job is usually to like make something else sell. You're there to sell something. There are a lot of models that model just to look good and they're the subject. The shoot's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, real models that are like actively working and making money, they're selling something. They're doing beauty campaigns. They're shooting for clothing brands. They might be shooting for products. You could be a hand model. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different types of modeling. So, you're there to do a job. And when I started modeling, I definitely work with some people who I had, creative control and I would come up with my own concepts. but you know, like you don't really have control as a model. The photographer owns all the photos. You can't make money off of the photos without the photographer. Like you don't, even though you're the subject of the image, you don't own that image in order, you know, as and have the ability to like make profit off of it. And that's kind of what like led me to go into photography and get behind the camera. And also because I had a lot of ideas that I felt like I couldn't execute as a model. Like some people have a certain look that you feel like will convey a certain message or a certain feeling through the image, and you want to be able to like have the right person to like express that. Also, I will say, you know, being the talent, in my personal experience, like a lot of the projects I did, a lot of times I was like one of the lower paid people on the shoot. Most of the people that were making most of the money were the people behind the scenes that was putting everything together, that actually had the client that wanted to, you know, put together this production, and we hired a model to do that. So transitioning to going behind the scenes, I had a lot more control, and I was able to make more money as a creative. But it's a lot more to deal with. It's a lot more stress. Specifically as a producer, a lot of times I feel like you don't really get the credit you deserve, or you know, you just kind of get overlooked. I've done a lot of stuff where I've like organized things for people and put together stuff, and they like completely forgot to mention that I like was a part of it. Even though I made like I added a lot of value, or like I helped make sure things run smoothly. And you know, I still might have got like paid or whatever, but sometimes it just definitely kind of feels like, you know, you're not as appreciated or you're not as celebrated as maybe somebody like the director or the talent. Like a lot of times as the talent, like everybody's looking at you like, oh, you look amazing, blah blah blah, and you're just like a part of a bigger, you know what I'm saying, thing.
Yeah.
So
And you really did nothing but just show up.
yeah, and like yeah,
Probably
sometimes
didn't
you
even do
just
your own look.
stood there and you know what I'm saying, and that's, you know what I'm saying, like there's value in that as well. But everything that it takes to organize a production is it's a lot of work, and especially when you have client expectations on the line and certain deliverables you have to get, like, yeah, it's a real job. So
Okay. I actually had that question on the list to ask you if you felt like the behind the scene editors and producers got the credit that they deserve.
oh, and yeah, definitely the editors, they're like at the bottom. They're like, you know, sometimes it's like, yeah, like who edited this? Because this is actually amazing. And, you know, like a lot of times, a lot of the magic happens in the editing. Like the footage is great, but like, you know, the effects and the coloring and all that is really what makes like the final result look amazing. And the editors are like down in the dungeon, in the trenches, like, you know, trying to get this edit done. I have a friend who's an editor, Benji, really amazing, amazing editor. He's up at all times of night. I have gotten texts from him at 3 a.m. like, hey, check out this video when you get a chance. I need your feedback. Like, okay. Like, and then I call him maybe at like 9 a.m. when I wake up. He doesn't answer. He hits me back at like 1, 2 p.m. Like, yeah, I'm just getting up. I was editing until 8 a.m. Like, you have to have dedication. You have to have time. So I think just in general, people do not understand how hard editors work. And a lot of times, you know, your editor may not be the person who actually shot the footage. And so a lot of people take that for granted as well. If you have somebody that is really good at shooting and editing, definitely pay them what they're asking for, because it can easily just be having the editing done by someone else. And, you know, and that's, you know, not a bad thing, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Once I got into it myself, I developed a whole new respect for everybody who's behind the scenes in anything, because it's like you really do most of the work.
Yeah.
Like there's value, like you said, there's value in every position, but it's equal, honestly.
Yeah.
Like you are just as important as the talent, if
Absolutely.
not a little bit more, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
what are you going to do with all that footage if there's nobody to edit it, or if it's not edited well?
Yeah.
All the great footage or high quality footage you got, now it looks like crap.
And
So,
the hours of
yeah.
time. And touching on what you said earlier about the owning the rights of the pictures, that's what Cameron was dealing with that picture. He in the pink fur.
Yeah.
He was talking about how like somebody was selling it, or he was trying to sell it, and the photographer stopped him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the photographer had every right to do that,
Yeah.
unfortunately for him. Like, that's just the way it works. And, you know, it's unfortunate that people don't understand intellectual property rights, and some of them just don't even respect it. But you can always take a selfie. you can always take a picture of yourself.
Yeah.
So, that's how you eliminate that, because that's the way it is.
Right.
And people deserve their credit and their money. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so what's something that I guess artists or models they take for granted, or something small that they miss?
Um, a lot of times I think models take for granted sometimes opportunities to work with photographers and build a real portfolio, or like if you have a photographer that's willing to work with you and let you have creative control, really figure out what your portfolio needs in order to get you paid work. What are the type of campaigns that you would like to be in, and focus on that? Because if every shoot is just like you in a cute outfit, like, okay, cool, you may get more followers on Instagram, but like, is that helping you progress in your career? Is that putting any money in your pocket? And it may indirectly put money in your pocket, like, again, through, you know, your own exposure and building your following and whatnot, but it's not directly necessarily booking you gigs, because it doesn't look like the gigs you're trying to book. I also think that there's a lot of opportunities that people don't take advantage of because they're not paid opportunities. And there's a lot of great projects, and I mean companies that are big and small, that are putting on productions that have a budget. And that budget is finite. And unfortunately, people don't always understand that. They think, they make whatever type of assumptions, but the budgets are not always flexible. There's not always room to increase them. However, people are still doing the best they can to create something quality with what they have. And so sometimes there's opportunities to bring people into the space who want opportunity to be on camera, who want opportunity to act, model, whatever it is. But because the company or whatever isn't in a position to compensate them, they'll turn it down. And I will say, like, you always have to prioritize your livelihood. You have to make sure you have a roof, you have food, you have those things. But like, especially if you're not doing anything else, you don't know who's in that room. You don't know who you may connect with, what project they have, that they may meet you on that set and want you to be on, and they can pay you whatever you want to get paid. Or, the next production, they're going to guarantee you a paid spot. Like, I've had that happen to me. The first music video I will say second music video I ever did, I did a Wale music video for free.
That was your second video ever?
Yes.
Okay.
I had did another video for an artist named Obise in like college, I think, when I was at Bowie. My friend Dante shot that, and I was just modeling, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, and it was more like a storyline. I had to do a little bit of acting.
Okay, so the second one you was in it,
so this
not shooting it.
No, I was in both of them.
Okay.
The second one, this one I was in with Wale, I was in it. I was a model.
Okay.
And I wasn't doing anything, and they told me it wasn't paid, and I was there all day, literally all day and all night. But the video was really fun. They hired me and paid me for another video that they did. Shortly after that, they reached right back out to me. They also asked me, like, do you know any people, blah, blah, blah. They kind of put me in position to give some other people some opportunities. And then that production company from that video, then they were like, so this is the second time we work with you. You were great to work with. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? The first video, we was there all day. You didn't complain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just had a great attitude. I did everything they asked me to do. I followed directions, whatever the case may be. And after the second video where they paid me, they were like, so what do you do? Can we hire you to do some other things? And then they started, like paying me to do other stuff, art direction, creative direction. Can you help us find more models? Can you, all this different stuff? And that led to producing. So if I had been like, nah, I'm not trying to do that video for free, I don't care who it is, or it's Wale, why isn't enough money to pay me? If it's, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going on to be,
sure.
Making assumptions about, how people are working and operating. Believe me. Some people are funding everything themselves. They're independent. You just don't know. But the point is, that is what led me to like being on the career path I am now, is because I was willing to do something for free. And I also work for free for my friends, my other filmmaker friends that, they're passionate and they have their own projects. yes, I will work for you for free. It's very expensive to do film. It takes a lot of resources and a lot of time. And we all are passionate. We all have things we want to do. So when the time comes, I may need you to help me. And you know what I'm saying? And I also want to be there to support you. And if you don't have all the bread, any of the bread, whatever, I'll put up some bread. But like, if this is your dream, your passion, and we're all filmmakers, like, yeah, we're gonna do it. So
That's
I work
solid.
for free for them.
That's fire. Okay. Now I like that. Collaboration is important. We definitely can move faster working together. So I love that.
Sure.
That's solid. But what's something like when you're working on the larger productions like with Wale, what's something you think they look at to determine who they want to bring back a second time or move forward with?
Definitely somebody with a good attitude. Like, that's really, really important because film is unpredictable. Things change in the moment, challenges happen. You have to be flexible. You also have to understand that, like, with those changes may involve more of your time. Like, a lot of times I'll tell people, like, you shouldn't plan to have anything else going on because even though we want this to be a few hours, we may end up needing to change the way we're shooting it, and we may need you later or longer. So being like flexible and having a positive attitude, being willing to take direction, and also like following instructions, paying attention, those are just really simple things that will, bring you back on set. Like, and also just being punctual, being professional. Um, a lot of people get into stuff and they don't ask enough questions. And sometimes a production company, things are moving fast. They don't always, give everybody all the little details. So, I always tell people, like, make sure you know exactly what you're committing to and agreeing to. But, just really like having a good attitude on set because, especially for my sets, we're going to work hard, but we're going to have a good time. Like, if it's not, everything's not going to be a good time. But if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it. I don't want to keep doing it, and I don't want you to be doing it, and like you're not having a good time either. So, yeah, like don't bring negative, complainer, hater energy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. And then we will
That
invite
sounds
you
good.
back. We will be like, they're cool. We like them.
Yeah.
They're, you know what I'm saying, a vibe. They, you know what I'm saying, they're here to work. They're here to take in the experience, network, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna bring them back. That's what will have you brought back.
Okay. Nah, that makes sense. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's just bringing down the group. So you being in Wale as your second video is like kind of shooting just straight to the top, low key. Like, was you plugged in, or is there something like what would a person need to do to get in front of the camera?
Well, I did receive a random phone call at 1 a.m. from a good friend, and I didn't answer because I was like, why is he calling me at this time? And then he texted me and was like, sorry, I know it's weird. I'm calling you at this time, but I have an opportunity. And so, yeah, Dante, again, hooked me up with that opportunity. However, I don't think he would have called me if I hadn't already been doing the things I was doing. I had already done a video with him specifically. And that was like the first music video I did. And I had to take direction from him. And so him having the opportunity to work on that video and the experience he had with me with the previous video made him think of me and say, hey, let me call her and see if she's interested in doing this. And even though it was last minute, I was like, yeah, I'll come through. I'll do it. And I was, did it all day.
Yeah.
But I think I had to start, like I had already been modeling and had a modeling portfolio. I was mainly doing like print stuff. And
So
just taking
what will somebody with no experience do? Like if they wanted
start
to
start a portfolio. I mean,
Okay.
you have to just start. You have to put yourself out there. If you have no experience, but you're also not trying to do anything, like nobody's going to just call you at 1 a.m. like, hey, just randomly thought of you, like even though you don't do anything of the things that I'm thinking of calling you about for. Like, so this all goes back to like I had to start building my own portfolio. I reached out to photographers that I wanted to work with. I already had ideas. I didn't necessarily expect them to come with ideas, but I was open to their ideas because when you're trying to do a collaboration with a photographer, it needs to be mutually beneficial. And so, I just had to start reaching out like, okay, try to get an opportunity with a photographer to take some pictures. And then from there, who else can I shoot with? What other concepts can I come up with? What kind of pictures am I trying to take? And what I did was I started modeling, like, I feel like right before, like, I had a Model Mayhem page, which is like a older like modeling creative platform that connected models, photographers, makeup artists. And you could have like your portfolio on there and message people and set up shoots and all this other stuff.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like pre-Instagram modeling.
Yeah.
Instagram was like, I think just getting started, I feel like around this time, but it wasn't like how it is now where people were like booking people off of Instagram and there was all these influencers. It wasn't like that.
Right.
So I was, like actually meeting some really creepy people actually as a photographer. I mean, as a model, because some of these photographers were just straight up creeps. And, there's already been some people in DMV who have like been exposed for actually being creeps. It's very unfortunate. But, yeah, I just was like put myself out there, and I like hated taking pictures. My best friend had to encourage me. She set up my first shoot because I was like, I can't do this. And once I started seeing that people had a positive reaction to like the images I was putting out, that's when I was like, let me just keep trying. And I would once social media also too became popular, I would follow photographers or follow models, and I would be like, well, what other photographers or models are they following, and are they in the area, and what's their work look like, and maybe I should work with them. I literally did research to find the people that I wanted to work with in order to build a portfolio that I wanted to present to get the work I wanted.
You don't play games.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense. Like, you put in the work. Like, I think a lot of people just trying to take a half naked photo and think opportunity gonna come flooded in.
Yeah, like there's gonna be DMs flooding in from like,
the creeps.
The thirsties.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna get you to like that paid gig. Like,
right.
That's not necessarily gonna get that brand to book you to like represent their brand. Like, you're just selling your body and sexiness, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, but not if like your goal is to work. I'll be trying to work.
Yeah, I see. Okay. All right, so going back to behind the camera, being a woman, creative directing, giving directions, is that easy? Like, do people just listen, or they maybe
For
try
me, yes.
Yeah.
I think, just in general, giving direction can be challenging for anybody who doesn't necessarily have confidence in themselves or isn't super sure about what they're doing. I feel like for me, I don't really have a problem giving direction. I feel like I always talk to people and treat people with respect. And I feel like, the way that I approach giving direction to the people I work with, they respect me and they're willing to take direction from me. And they know that like whatever I'm telling them is in the best interest of like the project and us or whatever. And I also just kind of make it a point to make sure that like everybody's good on set. Like, no matter what your job is, I don't make anybody feel like they're less important than anybody else. Like, you could be the person picking up the trash, be the PA. I still want you to feel like you are valued and you are respected at all times when we're working, because everybody's role is important. Now, if you're not like doing what you need to do, I will address it. Again, I'm going to address it with respect, but I'm not about to sit there and let you, like, we're doing a group project.
Right.
And we're like most likely getting paid to do the group project. So like, you're not about to mess up the end.
Yeah.
Like, we gonna figure it out, and I'm willing to help you figure it out. I'm willing to jump in there and find a solution. You need me to hold something, you need me to assist you. Like, I'm gonna do whatever needs to be done to get the job done. But I just think it really has to do with like being confident in yourself. And even if things change or I'm not like super sure about every single thing on set, I am sure that I know I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that things are successful, everybody's okay, and hopefully the shoot is successful. Like, and at the end of the day, that's all I can do anyway.
Yeah.
It's like all I can do is the best I can. So
that makes sense. Okay. So what do you have majority of your experience in? Like, is it like short films, movies, music videos?
I would say probably a combination of music videos and documentaries.
Okay.
I worked on a couple long documentaries that are still being worked on.
I've heard.
But I do really enjoy documentary work. It just can be a very long process depending on like what the subject is. There's a couple documentaries that have been in the works for years, and I'm not in control of like when they're going to come out or how they're going to come out. But I did really enjoy the experience of making the documentaries, filming interviews, learning. Like documentaries are so informative. I love that. But yeah, it's a long process. I just was looking at a Netflix documentary that was done over the course of 10 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Absolutely. Those people be dedicated.
Yeah, and then the other thing is music videos. I've done quite a few music videos for several artists in the area. Music videos are fun and creative. They're also hectic and stressful, but yeah, we do them.
Yeah. When I was shooting music videos, the thing I liked about them most, like kind of what I fell in love with, was how fast you can go from like it being in your head to manifesting it into reality. I loved like I could just think about it, and then 8 hours later I could see it, and I loved that.
Yeah.
Like, what was your, I guess, favorite part about it?
I think the creative process is my favorite part. I know for a lot of the projects that we shot, we come up with treatments, and a lot of our projects have somewhat of a storyline almost. I feel like a lot of the music videos I worked on are almost like mini movies. Like they're mini like this happened, and then they did a drive by, and then blah blah blah. It's like it's a lot of um it's a lot of like thoughtfulness and intention behind like why we're presenting this visual for this song, or like really trying to tell a story with that goes with like the mood of the song. So I really enjoy the creative process, but also for me, for the music videos, like I'm a very detailed person. Like if we got girls in the video, like they need to be on point. The outfits need to look right. Like it needs to, everything needs to be on point. We got to have the right props. We need to have the right location. I do like it when like things happen. I guess like on the fly or in the moment, and you like it's just a dope, moment or shot. But I like I'm a very detail oriented person, and I think also because a lot of when I do music videos, I'm producing. I'm not directing. Producing is not really a creative role. I'm fortunate that a lot of people I work with know I come from a creative space and background, and so I'm often giving input for the creative as well and helping with the creative. However, my main job is like logistics and to make sure that like everything that's needed to execute the shoot is here. We have all the resources, we have all the people we need. So it's almost difficult for me for sometimes to switch back and forth between creative and like logistical on set, because if the logistical is going left, like that could really determine whether or not this is going to get shot correctly, if it's going to get finished. And that's a much bigger concern for me as a producer. So yeah.
Okay.
I gotta like be the person making sure everybody's
I get it.
doing
Well,
what
you
they're
also
supposed to
do set design. So talk about just how important those details are.
They really, to me, those are the things that stand out to people, whether it's good or bad. So like and also if you're trying to invoke a mood, I feel like if you're doing it half-assed, it's gonna be like, okay, we get it, but you're not gonna have the same impact on the viewer. I think those details really make a difference in how things are perceived. You can have and I guess it depends. Some concepts are very simple and they're very minimal and they don't require a lot of details. But when it comes to like specifically set design, those are the things that are interesting. Like what was left on the table, what was here. You know what I'm saying? Like I like watching movies and picking up on like the Easter eggs in the set design and things like that. I feel like those are what makes people like, that's my favorite movie, because like all these little, you know what I'm saying, special details, and it also really sells whatever you know what I'm saying you're trying to convey within the frame. I also do set design for events. So like that has a lot to do with the mood and how people feel while they're in the environment. Like it makes a huge difference. Are people comfortable? Are they close to each other? Are they able to connect? Is it easy for them to network? And all those things make a difference.
Okay. When it comes to like the Easter eggs in the movies and stuff, do you think the average viewer even notice it? Because sometimes when I'm watching a movie with somebody, I may point out something, and it makes me realize, like, dang, I'm looking at stuff you're not even looking at. And I didn't even get like that until I started doing film, and now I'm seeing everything.
So I would say I can't really say like if I feel like the average person picks up on that, because like I don't really know who's the average person. Like there's some people that are the average person and they're just really into films and they have their favorite films, and then there's people like us who like we probably love movies, but now that we work in film, we're like, who did the sound design for this? Or like, why does that part of the movie sound so loud? Or why, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things that I think it's not just Easter eggs that we're looking at from a completely different perspective, because we know how things work, at least generally, that now we're thinking about why were these certain particular choices made when this movie was being made.
Yeah.
Like it's deeper than like just enjoying the storyline and like, oh, that looks cool. We're taking in so many more components of the film than we did before we did anything filmmaker related. But I do think the average person does pick up on details. I feel like that's part of the reason why, people have their favorite movies, or people can point out, why they love the way a certain movie makes them feel. Maybe it has to do with the lighting design or whatever. Like, but I think, yeah, like those things are important, and I think when they're done correctly, they make a huge difference in why somebody, yeah, like that could be their favorite movie.
Yeah. And that's what I think it is. I think it comes down to maybe just being aware of why you like this.
Yes.
Like the average person might just like love it and don't even know why, but
True.
it's those details.
True.
So that's what I just assume. That's what I chalked it up as. When you're on a set, and rather you're behind the camera or in front of the camera, how do you go about battling for creative direction, rather it's your place or not?
I'm the type of person that like I just speak up if I, like for one thing, I used to be afraid to speak up. I used to have like really bad imposter syndrome where I felt like I don't know as much as everybody else. People doing this longer than me. If I say something, they're gonna look at me like we know this or blah blah blah. But then I realized I was just looking around. I'm like, this is not. I don't think this is. Some things it was like I don't think this is how it's supposed to go. So it's worth me saying something, because even if I'm wrong, at least I'll be aware of like what's going on and making sure we're on the same page. But obviously I'm here to add value. So I at least should say something just to make sure that I'm on the same page as everybody else. And so I got to the point where I was just like, like I speak up and I give my input on the creative. I don't force it upon anybody, of course, because if that's not my role, that's not my lane. But if something don't look right, I'm gonna be like, that don't look right. It doesn't. And I recommend we do something to fix that. If you don't want to oblige, cool. I'm just here to, you know what I'm saying, produce this. Because I ain't make this up.
Right.
Most of the time, I didn't make this up. Okay, I'm producing it. I'm bringing your thing to life. But yeah, I say what's on my mind. I don't necessarily, unless it's my thing. If it's my thing, we going, you know what I'm saying? I'm open to, of course, like other people's opinions and inputs, but I usually have like a clear direction. But I'm going to make it known if something is off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's all you can do.
And also, like, if I put my name on something, I don't want it to be janky.
Yeah,
like
that's how I feel about it.
You know what
like,
I'm saying?
How do you
like,
just continue? You like, damn, it's gonna represent me, and it's not even my representation.
I won't be posting it after if it don't look right. Just know, like, you don't have to tag me. I will say it. I'll be like, you know what? I appreciate the opportunity. Blase, blase. But, I'm not going to be. I will not be promoting that, because again, like if my name is on it, I don't want to be involved in certain things where it's not right. But it's usually, I usually don't have that issue, because
right.
Usually I feel like if I'm bringing up something, it's not because I have ill intention or because I just think it sucks. It's because like I think it could be better and it should be better, and I want it to be better because I'm dedicated to this project and it's your thing. So like that's all. I'm just. I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah. So are you the type of person that, let's say it's like something small that didn't go right, would you reshoot to get that thing in, or you let it slide?
Depends on time.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on time. I always think
That's
that
a big factor.
if we can get the shot, we should get the shot.
Mm-hmm.
But also, when you're on set, you got to make decisions about what's priority. We may not be able to use the whole shot. We may have to pivot in the editing. It really depends on like, is that a make or break thing? Is it a deal breaker? And once that's determined, then we can figure out like, is it worth this? Going back and reshooting this and taking the time, and can we afford to potentially sacrifice something else? Or do we have the time? If we had the time, we need to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be right. Like, I just don't feel like if you should half-ass something if you have the opportunity to do it right.
Right. So what's the biggest thing that went wrong and you had to just finesse it and get it together at the end or in post production?
What went wrong? Nothing goes wrong, people. I'm really trying to think. Okay, I will say we did a shoot recently where we used VHS footage with an actual. I mean, okay, because it's funny. It is funny, but we used a camcorder, like a real camcorder.
Okay.
The tape got stuck in the camcorder. Mind you, the camcorder footage was supposed to be the flashback footage for this video. And we had a deadline. We had a paying client who, you know what I'm saying, like, was amazing client. And eventually we had to tell them, like, look, we're having some challenges. And at a certain point, I had to make a decision and tell my guy Chris, who was editing, like, we got to figure out another solution, because even if we get that tape out, like, number one, it's taking us time to figure out how to get the tape out of the camcorder. But not only that, what if it's damaged? What if we can't use it at all? We have to still give the client a product, and a good product. So we had to talk, like, what are we gonna do? And we came up with an alternative solution that still created a great product. And we did present that to the client, but we let them know, like, this is the best we can do right now with what we have, and we're still very proud of this, and we hope you are too. However, we are still trying. We were still trying to figure out that solution, because if there's any way we could incorporate, that's what we wanted to do, because that's what's going to make it really good.
Yeah.
Eventually, the tape got out. We found a professional. They got it out for us. We were able to use the footage, and we sent them another updated version of the video with the footage that was even better. And we still made it within like their deadline and timeline that they needed the content, and everything ended up working out. Okay. But I was sweating bullets. I was stressed out because I was the person dealing with the client. Nobody else was dealing with the client but me. And I'm going back and forth with the editor, like, so what are we gonna do? And they're like, I really want to use it. The editor and our editor, Chris, our main editor, he also directed. So he was very dedicated to like
he wanted his
the vision. But I had to, I had to tell him, like, look, believe me, I understand. And at any point we can get that done, we should still put that out regardless. But this is not out, like, this is for somebody, and they are trying to do something with this. So like, we have to make certain sometimes hard decisions, even when it comes down to sometimes compromising our vision in order to make sure that we're fulfilling our obligations as business owners and as people that are being contracted to do something for somebody. But it's hard when you're put in that position and you're like, you really wanted to give them something, and even if they like what you have, it's like, but this is better. So, but yeah, so even though that went wrong, it didn't really go wrong, because it ended up working out in the end. And usually that's how my stuff goes, because I just do the best I can. And I try not to stress and worry about things I really cannot control, because what's that going to do? Nothing.
Good point. For my personal curiosity, I always wondered when it comes to those like camcorder footages, can you not just shoot on a regular camera and like throw a filter on something later, or
you can?
Does it make that much of a difference to use the old camera?
I can't really answer that, because I don't edit, and I've never shot on the camcorder versus like doing that. So I can't really answer that. I do think though that was a resources that was available, and up until that point we didn't actually have any of those issues, so it just was easy to get like that authentic, vintage VHS like footage.
Right.
Now, I think we have been considering alternatives of like potentially using those filters. And actually, some of the guys I know, they created some filters with that VHS camcorder that you can use to put on stuff. So, great way to monetize. But yeah, I don't really know. I feel like it all depends on what you can do with what you have.
Okay, that makes sense. If I had one, I guess I would use it.
Yeah,
For that
I would use it, but I can see why it's convenient to just shoot regular and then put you know what I'm saying, that filter on it. I'm sure you can do it. I just don't know what that entails. Not my lane.
Okay, good enough answer. Well, my last question for you was: I've seen you speak about Black woman empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how you feel about that. Why is that important to you? And
well, I mean, Black woman empowerment is important to me because I'm Black. First of all, like I'm trying to empower my damn self.
fair enough.
I'm trying to empower myself as a Black woman because we need empowerment and we need each other and we need to like uplift each other. But also because, just look at the data, look at the statistics. Like, I mean, it's like, we accomplish a lot with a lot against us, with way less opportunities, with way less money and seed money and people believing in us. And like, I'm in a space where, not that there's no women in the space, but there's way less women that are in positions to make decisions or direct or in positions of power, essentially. And there's, some production companies in the area that are run by Black women, and we really need more of that. But also just because in film specifically, a lot of the other women that you may tend to work with on set are in glam or their talent. I did not consider being a filmmaker until someone said, "Hey, I think you would be good at this." And it was a man. It was a Black man. He had to make space for me and say like, "Hey, this is a job that I believe you can do." Up until that point, I didn't really have anybody that was exposing me to opportunities in film besides modeling, and I was doing photography, which I knew a lot of, women photographers. There's still way more male photographers. However, like you can do everything as a photographer by yourself. So like you don't necessarily have to work with like a team of people necessarily. But in film, this is usually a group project, especially if you're, doing any type of like, it's amazing you're doing all this by yourself, but it's usually easier to do it with a team. So if you can do it with a team, you will. And usually it's mostly men, unless, you are intentional about bringing women to the space. So it's very important because there's a lot of industries where we aren't even exposed to opportunities to work or to be involved. And then we're the minority in the space. So like, we're not always taken seriously. We're not always respected. We're overlooked sometimes. And it's very easy for men in the space to just bring in other men. Like, oh, my bro can move some equipment around. I'll just have him PA and pay him. And it's like, well, you wouldn't want me to discriminate if I needed him to do office work, right? Because all the PAs that I hire that are women, they be moving everything around. They be lifting up all the equipment. They be trying to build the cameras. Some of the women I know, they be doing a little bit much. Like, you don't need to move all the table and chairs by yourself in one carry. Like, they're on point. But there shouldn't be like, oh, well, we need the person to be able to lift stuff as like, so that means you don't want to hire a woman to do the job. Like, if I tell her this is the job, either she's going to take it or not. Either she can do it or she can't. Same thing with hiring a man. Like, if I need him to do this paperwork or get these release forms signed, that shouldn't be an issue either to hire him. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, we should get a woman to do that or to talk to people. Like, if you are capable of doing a job, you should be given an opportunity and space to do the job. But I feel like when there's already a lot of guys, it's just easy. There's a certain level of male camaraderie that just makes it a little bit easier to just bring more men into the space instead of making space to be intentional about bringing women to the space, and especially Black women and women of color in general.
You think the interest is even there though? Like even you said, somebody had to convince you.
Well, I don't even think they had to convince me. It was more so like when they asked me if I wanted to produce, I was like, I don't know what film producers do. I know what directors do. I know what writers do. And previously I was like, I don't know if that's really like my lane. And because I was shooting photography, I was like, I don't know if I want to be really a camera person. I wasn't even aware that there was all these other jobs that I could do. So it wasn't so much I had to be convinced, but someone had to explain to me like these are the different jobs that you can do that are available for you to do that I think you're capable of doing. And then I was like, oh, okay. They were like, yeah, like produce, and I was like, I don't make beats. Like, what does a film producer do? Like, so yeah, and I have tried to make it a point to bring other, specifically Black women into the film space. I try to hire a lot of women PAs. I try to teach them. I try to be a mentor to a lot of the women that I bring into the space. I still have a lot of PAs that will hit me up just to get advice or whatever, and that means a lot to me that they feel comfortable enough to like reach out to me. And they, you know, some people feel like there's competition when it's not that many of other people that look like you in a space. And I like the idea of cultivating community and being able to grow that community. So
Okay, no, that's solid. It's a good last point too.
yeah, it's all about community, man.
Yeah.
Gotta uplift each other, especially in the Black community.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have for you. I appreciate you for coming through today. Did you
Thank
want to
you.
leave off on anything?
Yes, just do the best that you can. That's the best advice I can give to anybody. Um, like that's all you can. It's not gonna look the same every day, but as long as you're doing the best that you can at whatever it is you're trying to do, you're doing your own podcast, you're trying to do your own production, you're trying to start some sort of business. Everything isn't going to be perfect or how exactly you want it all the time. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Just like do your best and learn and grow, and then continue to like do your best from there. And within that, there's also space to give yourself grace. Your best is not going to look the same every day. Your best today may not be your best yesterday because you're sick today or whatever. So, like, whatever your best looks like, just do that and be proud and happy of yourself that you're able to do that every day. That's all I can give.
Great advice.
Thanks. My dad taught me that. He's cool.
Shout out to Pops.
Yes.